Okay, so I've been putting an eye out on Soulframe for the better parts of the last few months, and in the recent week, we've seen an insane surge of news and information about this game, because apparently so many people have got to try it hands-on. Now, my experience with Warframe, the game that was made by the same company, is just that I played it for a couple of days and I ended up quitting. That being said, the game is still extremely popular to this day and goes really strong. I'm fully aware of that. So I'm very interested in seeing where they took the MMO genre, because Warframe is just a completely different game. So I'm very intrigued in hearing what this guy has to say. Apparently he played for 40 plus hours. Let's hope he has some really good tidings
Hey
to
dudes,
bring us.
welcome back to the channel. I do hope you are doing well. In today's video, I want to sit down and talk to you
It looks
about
interesting
what to
for sure.
expect, honestly, if you are jumping into Soulframe for the first time.
Definitely
Is it
different.
worthwhile? Is there enough content in here? And generally, what's my overlook as someone that's put 40 to 50 hours
Yeah,
into
very
the game
much
already?
Souls-like,
I do just want to
for
state
sure.
right off the bat that I do genuinely already really enjoy Soulframe.
I mean,
so if you've come
I gotta admit, like, look at the dodge roll
that
animation.
I do genuinely already really enjoy Soul.
Like, I don't think this is the greatest dodge roll animation. That being said, I know they're still pretty early in development. I think this was pre-alpha tests. So, yeah, everything you see is most likely going to be improved upon.
Frame. So
But for
if
a
you
pre-alpha,
come
it
here for
looks
a bit
great.
of a
Like, yeah, for sure.
positive confirmation about what to do, then, you know, maybe you can click away now and just give it a try. But if you are staying for the full video, I do want to just state that I'm going to try and be firm but fair here, and also realistic. I love Digital Extremes as a company. I love Warframe. I love Soulframe. But I have to be firm and fair and kind of sit in the middle and give you guys an overview as to what is actually going on. This is a game that has massive potential. It has wonderful ideas, and really, there is some seriously impressive world.
It does look great. I will say, like, this is actually quite beautiful. I mean, I love the aesthetics. I love the vibes. It actually looks pretty dope. Yeah. I mean, in terms of, like, graphics and fidelity, maybe it's not, like, the best looking thing out there, for sure. But it looks to run pretty smoothly, and I respect that, for sure.
World building already in the game, but it definitely has some growing pains and some identity struggles that are important to acknowledge. So if you will, allow me to break down what your experience will kind of really look like if you jumped into Soulframe as it is today. And just bear in mind, of course, as the experience fleshes out, they add more content, this is likely to change. The very first thing that will hit you is just how stunning the world really is. Soulframe genuinely surprised me with how carefully crafted its zones
I love the enemy designs. They look great. I love the way that they look, for sure. Definitely very reminiscent of Souls-like fantasy vibes.
feel,
which is always a great
area
thing.
looks and plays like it was
Wait, damn, that was
with
sick.
intent
You
to
seen
feel.
that?
Each area
Look how the enemy gets knocked back when he kills him
looks
with, like,
and
the ability.
plays like it was hand built.
Damn, they actually have physics for this type of stuff? That is incredible. Wow. Wow, that was outstanding.
Intention and care from the
Wait, is it an MMO or a single player game? I don't really understand. I mean, what's kind of going on? It feels so odd. It feels like I'm watching a combination, like a hybrid of a Souls-like game and an MMO. Not really an MMO. That I'm not really sure. It's kind of like if you took Skyrim and combined it with a Souls-like, like Skyrim and Dark Souls.
very dense
that
forest all
make
the
any
way to the
sense.
fog-covered plains, it is clearly evident where the nurture has come from. The whole world carries this rich, almost
Flaming
haunting,
sword, always
dark
good.
fantasy vibe, which I really love, and it kind of works
Damn, looks
exceptionally
powerful,
well,
too.
to be honest. What I love most is the sense of discovery that the game really encourages. As you explore the relatively open world, you'll naturally stumble across points of interest, small player hubs, siege camps that are filled with enemies, hidden paths, and there are these beautifully
sneak on him.
designed dungeons that are just as
Oh,
atmospheric as they
you've
paths,
seen that?
And there are these
You saw that?
beautifully designed dungeons.
Look at that. I love this. I love this type of things. You see this icon? It's not the old boring, okay, just click this button, execute this guy. No, they actually have icons for this type of stuff. Also, I'm a huge fan of the simple art. Really reminds me of The Witcher. And, again, like Skyrim. Probably gonna use that a lot as a reference here in this video. But this looks absolutely fantastic. I love that. That is phenomenal. It's those small things that truly show you that the developers care. I love this type of thing in like video games. That is phenomenal. Also, I love how the UI isn't completely overloaded. There's like this very simple, I guess these are abilities here, and I'm in the way you can't really see it, like where my camera is. I'm just gonna bump myself up so you can just see for a second there. Basically all of this stuff, this is amazing. I love the fact that they kept it simplistic, and I mean, yeah, I'm a huge fan of this. Just not a completely overblown UI garbage. That is phenomenal.
That are just as
rarely
atmospheric
seen
as
in
they
an
are
MMO
mysterious.
nowadays.
The world here definitely rewards curiosity, and walking around just soaking in the ambience is genuinely one of the strongest parts of the game right now.
They clearly took
And I will
inspiration
say,
from Skyrim.
Considering how early
100%.
alpha, if you like, this game is, I feel like Digital Extremes have done a great job to get in as much of that atmosphere as they physically have at this point. Now, let's address something that is important.
Okay, interesting. Let's see this real quick. Magics Bestone. Cement your enemies in stone for a time. Oh, so just the abilities. Yeah, Elder Bloom, Phantom Flock, and trappings are like what, the weapon? Or just more abilities? Okay, interesting, I guess.
Possible to miss, and that's the Warframe DNA. It is absolutely everywhere. That isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it makes some systems instantly familiar and easy to understand, especially if you're a Warframe veteran. Crafting works pretty much the same as does progression. That is very recognizable, and the overall rhythm of leveling weapons and improving your account will feel right at home to Warframe players. But at the same time, Soulframe doesn't feel like it's fully established its own identity yet, because so much of what is here mirrors mechanics, pacing, and progression from Warframe. The system where most weapons exist just to level up mastery rank kind of returns here, and whilst it works, it doesn't really encourage you to bond with your gear or stick with it long term. Right now, I truly feel
that's a really bad thing. I don't think that's a good thing for the RPG element of the game. I think that this is really bad, but at the same time, I guess they were trying to cut corners and take a lot of assets from Warframe to just save on developing costs. And I kind of do understand that. I just hope when I put my hands on this game, it will actually feel good.
Well, as good as Soulframe
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
It's still figuring out what it wants to be or who it wants to be, and trying to navigate through that Warframe influence. Now, combat is another area where Soulframe shows a lot of promise while still needing refinement.
Well, to be fair, Warframe combat is literally one of the best out there. And I'm saying this as a guy who literally played for like, what, 2 days? So, it's pretty much insane. You would have expected this game combat to be on par, if not better.
And that refinement is fine. It'll come. The game is in very early
stages.
She I have personally spent time with several weapons so far, from the staff, the kunai, daggers, swords, the magic gauntlet.
What the hell happened to the enemy there?
The kunai,
he got
daggers,
struck by
swords,
random lightning. Oh, he has like I guess a death rattle, right? It was like, kill me, God, and then boom, got struck by lightning. That was sick. I love that. That is dope.
Don't know the name of, and I can honestly say that mechanically they all feel pretty solid. The animations are flashy, hit responses feel good. Every weapon class has its own personality, and what really stands out is the pact system,
he missed his sword attack now,
players
right?
would know as Warframes. Each pact plays totally differently.
Oh my God!
Unique benefits, abilities, and styles
that
let you expect.
Sick.
Plays totally differently, offering unique benefits.
Wow, the physics of the enemies like dying and getting taken by animal companions and stuff, that is really good. That is very well made. Kudos to them. That looks fantastic. That looks like so much fun. But I hope this game won't be just like a spectacle and really fun gameplay. I hope there will be more to it. For sure.
And styles that let you experiment and swap playstyles easily. Now, switching these packs is quick and painless, and it genuinely changes how you approach each encounter. With that being said, ranged combat clearly right now has a very, very strong advantage. It is easier, it's safer, and way more efficient than melee combat.
To be fair, in every single video game, finding that balance between range and melee is almost impossible. And you can take Path of Exile as a really good example, right? It's an ARPG, but still, like, it is so difficult to find that balance between risk-reward. Because you either you make range really weak, and then they feel bad to play because you have to dodge roll your way out of everything and anything, or you just make Melee really powerful to the point where nothing matter and you're just a titan that cannot be stopped. So it's really difficult to find that balance. And I mean, I really hope they would find a way to do so, for sure.
In my opinion, Melee still feels a bit
just like
clunky
Nature of
at
the
this
Beast
stage.
thing.
It lacks the smoothness or precision you would expect from a game emphasizing
And I love that
close
sword
combat.
bouncing
Now,
throw.
don't get
That
it
is
twisted.
so
You
sick.
can still enjoy melee combat. In fact, one of my favorite components of the game is throwing my main hand sword into one of the enemy's heads and
Yeah,
then
that
whipping
looks
it
like
back into
fun.
my hand and hitting another enemy on the way back. It's just incredibly satisfying. But you will definitely feel the difference from the moment that you pick up a ranged option
waste
instead.
bear.
I also want to
Where did
address
he go?
something quite clearly. Soulframe is not a Souls-like game, despite the name and a few
Damn.
subtle influences in the
Okay.
animations and pacing.
That looks fun.
It doesn't play anything like a Souls game, really. The comparison really only exists because Soulframe has the word soul in it. So if you're coming in expecting that deep, punishing Souls-like combat style, this
No?
isn't the game for that. There is
Oh, damn.
difficulty to be had, but it isn't quite the same. One thing that really genuinely surprised me is how much quest content is already built into the game. There are several storylines, character arcs, cinematic encounters that draw you into this world. Some of these story-driven bosses are especially well done, creating memorable moments that break up the exploration, and the game introduces you to important NPCs and factions early on, which makes the world feel more alive than you might expect from something this early in development.
Went
I
into
do have to say,
hibernation.
though, that right now I still struggle with the lore of the game. That's not necessarily an issue or a fault with Soulframe, that might just be on me, but I have found that the story delivery is a little bit scattered right now, but I'm sure that will improve in time.
Yeah, that is 100% on the developers if they done an improper job of explaining the lore to you, because it's not how good the story is, it's the way that it's being told. And if they scatter everything around and nothing makes sense, then that's 100% on the developers. So hopefully they would pay attention to that, because this stuff is actually important.
There are definitely pieces of something really interesting here, but the narrative threads aren't as easy to follow to me as they could be. It's not confusing to the point of frustration, it's just not fully cohesive yet. Now, moving on, enemy variety is pretty decent at this stage, honestly, with some tougher enemies appearing as you move towards the more northeastern regions of the map. The difficulty scaling feels fairly natural. You'll definitely run into moments that challenge you, that's for sure, but for the most part, you should have a fairly easy time. I will say that the bosses are kind of where the game stumbles a little bit. Some of them really look great and have fantastic arenas that you can fight in, but in my opinion, the AI and the pathing still needs a bit of work. There are times when bosses simply walk straight towards you in a loop or just get stuck with the same behavior, which kind of makes them feel far less threatening or engaging than they should be. Now, the dungeons, by contrast, are absolutely incredible. You can clearly see the amount of time and attention to detail that really went into designing these spaces. As I said before, they are atmospheric, they're beautifully lit, and they carry that dark, mystical aesthetic that Soulframe really nails quite well. The dungeons alone are really worth exploring, even if the boss encounters fall somewhat short. Even though the progression is quite similar to that of Warframe, I will say that the progression in Soulframe does feel satisfying and impactful. As you level up, you'll earn meaningful ability points that you can use to unlock useful upgrades that let you kind of tailor your build. Now, the real diversity between Warframe comes when you are upgrading your actual weapon points and your pact points, as these were more traditionally done with mods in Warframe, but these are clearly spent with ability points in this game. I really love the ability to swap packs really simply by just holding tab, returning to your camp, going into the tent and just switching whatever you want, and that includes weapons.
I'm a huge fan of this UI, by the way. It looks absolutely gorgeous. I'm a huge fan of it.
Well,
absolutely
we touched on
fantastic.
crafting a little while ago, but it's pretty much the same philosophy as Warframe. You gather resources, you craft items over time, and progress at your own pace. I actually think sticking to this business model is perfectly fine. Factions in this game operate in a familiar way. You earn reputation through open world missions and activities. You rank up and gain access to new items and rewards. Now, there's nothing groundbreaking here per se, but everything functions smoothly and it's easy to understand even as a new player.
Hey,
I will say one of the more charming parts of Soulframe is its little varieties of mini systems that it's got on mini games that you can play around the world. You will find yourself charming animals and even rescuing creatures as a whole, And these will
Damn.
unlock
Oh,
buffs that you
that's
can then use
cool.
on your weapons if you kind of
Okay, you have some really neat minigames. Oh man, I love this type of things. That is incredible.
think
I can already see myself like going around the world and collecting all of these stuff.
mods in Warframe, very, very similar. These interactions add a real personality to the world. They give you more to do besides just fighting and questing. You will have environmental puzzles to solve with your spectral sight. You'll have random events also pop up as you explore, which just add a bit of variety, making the world feel more dynamic instead of static. Now let's talk about traveling. You're going to spend a good chunk of your time simply just traveling across the world. The map is fairly large for how early in development the game actually is. That's what I was quite shocked about. And for the most part, you'll be walking through most of this unless you can convince other players to taxi you around. Most of the time, this is quite enjoyable because the world is beautiful and the movement feels good, but after a while it can get a bit repetitive, especially when you're trying to fight. It was good, but after a while it can get a bit
yeah, that's a chunky map. For sure. Wow. Actually surprising. But it does look cool. It looks like you have so many things to do. It doesn't look empty to me. I'm not really sure what all of these things are. But, I mean, hey, if all of this is interesting, great. Like, it's better to have a smaller map with a ton of stuff to do rather than a large empty map where you do nothing.
Repetitive, especially when you're trying to find entrances in the massive black walls that split across most regions. These gates can blend into the environment more than they actually should, and it breaks the pacing a little when you're backtracking just to find where the door is for the first time. After a while, you do get more used to it. However, I would say if there's one quality of life thing I'd love DE to tweak, it's making those entrances a little bit more obvious. The performance of the game right now has been surprisingly smooth overall. Whether you're using DLSS or not, the game runs really well and feels...
To be fair, the game doesn't look that great. I mean, it looks good, for sure, but... I mean, if you compare it to other video games that are coming right now, especially the ones using Unreal Engine, which is literally every game at the moment, yeah, they look way better. So this game is not up to par in terms of graphic, but as long as it runs smoothly, I really do not care. I'm not a huge graphic guy anyway.
Stable.
I think most people aren't.
The noticeable moments of
they just want a fun
loading hiccups that I've seen have been when you enter dungeons or player hubs, which is kind of understandable given the level of detail in these areas that it needs to process. Sick. For a game in this stage of development, the performance is genuinely solid. So to round things up, should you jump into Warframe? To round things up, should you jump into Soulframe right now? Honestly, it depends on what you're expecting. If you want a fully polished MMO or a deep, mature action RPG experience, this game isn't quite there yet. However, if you're open to an evolving MMO light, with a beautifully crafted world, engaging exploration, solid combat foundations, and tons of potential, then Soulframe is absolutely worth your time.
But I gotta admit, it doesn't really look like an MMO. I haven't seen almost any other player on the screen, and I'm not really sure how it's going to function. Maybe it will function like Warframe, where you see them at specific zones and stuff, as far as I remember. But this is not an MMO. This is like something kind of different. And this will take time to get used to, but maybe it will feel good. I guess it's kind of one of those things you have to try it out for yourself and see what's up. But in like, as far as I've seen so far, the game actually looks pretty good. I liked what I saw.
To mention, if you're lucky enough and you don't want to part ways with any money, you can get keys which will give you access to the game.
Oh, so you can pay to
Twitch streams,
play the game?
Or maybe if there are some really charitable players online that you can, you know, nudge in the right direction, maybe you'll get given one too. Outside of that, you can straight up purchase access by supporting the Founders Pack movement that they've currently got going on for the game, which will give you access to the game and a couple of keys for some buddies too. But yeah, the game is very playable. It's already fun, and even though it's still finding its identity, the pieces are there for something special. There is work to be done. You know, Melee needs refinement, boss AI definitely needs some improvement, but really, Soulframe is off to a surprisingly strong start. As always, if you enjoyed this sort of...
Okay, so, wow, interesting. First, I'm gonna leave a link in the description so you guys can watch this video for yourself. Give this guy a like and a sub. But regardless, I mean, to the game, I mean, not gonna lie, I'm intrigued. there are a lot of elements about this game that I absolutely adore. I love the simplistic UI, how it's not overblown. I love the simple gameplay. It looks very, very fun. The real things I have problem with is probably some of the animations, which can be easily taken care of. Classes we've not really were shown anything, but what we were shown, I mean, it was pretty good. So I didn't quite get that. He didn't really went too deep there. But the MMO aspect, that's probably what bothers me the most, because I really want to see a lot of players in the open field. That is really important for me because I love interacting with people and meeting new people all the time. And the MMO part is something that I hold dear. So hopefully it will get more polished, but maybe I'll try out this game for myself. I mean, it does look really, really interesting. Yeah, for sure. I mean, this game might pop off. I'm gonna keep on looking at this game.